Hello, I'm here today to talk about fracture management in children, and I'm going to tell you about all the latest literature there is. I'm Dan Perry, and I'm an orthopedic surgeon. So, everyone knows that orthopedic surgeons aren't the greatest academically. And so I'm going to tell you about how we've changed the research twaddle that's existed for many years into research trials. So Richard Horton, the editor of the Lancet, talks about surgical research, and he tells you how most of what we do is utter, well, codswallop really. It's all case reports and it's all based on nothing. And so when I started doing this, everyone said it was going to be impossible. So what was the start? Well, the start was the most bread and butter fracture in all of the world. So let's get everyone on board and let's do something really super simple. And it was called the FORE study, so the Forearm Fracture Recovery in Children Evaluation Study. And it was about this fracture. As I say, the most important fracture in all of the world, the torus fracture. And it's important, not because it's actually important, it's important because actually no one cares about it. And no one cares because it's the least important fracture that you'll ever probably see. There's about 50,000 a year in England alone each year, and they come into your EDs and probably every day during the summer months when it's trampoline season. There's always some uncertainty. So some get a cast, some got a splint, some were getting soft casts or bandages. In fact, NICE said, should we do anything at all with them? And then some were being followed up and some weren't. So we built a trial around this. We built a trial getting ED guys, getting orthopedic surgeons, getting everyone to randomize. And we really built a community around them. We built a system which did all the follow-up and all the chasing for us, which was really cool. And this is what it looks like in the background. So what I see. So in FORCE, we randomized 965 children between a soft bandage. And when I say a soft bandage, families told us they wanted a soft bandage. So we kind of said, okay, here's a soft bandage. You can take it home, you can wear it, you can cuddle it, you can sleep with it, you can do whatever you want. You can put it on if you want to, but you don't need to. So 489 had a soft bandage and 476 had a splint or a cast and routine follow-up, whereas the soft bandage group were all discharged primarily from the ED. So they're all randomized and it was all beautiful. 94%, which is amazing, completed their primary, their 3-day outcome, which was about pain. And here's the results. Dun, dun, dun. So there's 2 lines here. One of the lines is about is the pain related to splints, and one of the lines is the pain related to the offer of a soft bandage. And I haven't labeled them because there's no difference. Because in fact, it's better than no difference. They're completely and utterly equivalent. So to show no difference, if you look at this is a minimal clinically important difference of 2 points. So to show no difference, we'd have to say that there was well, to show a difference, you'd have to show a bigger difference than this between the two. What we actually showed is something much, much smaller. So we said there's not even half an MCID, which means that the 2 treatments are actually completely utter equivalent at every time point. So they're equivalent in terms of pain. Their recovery was the same. The amount of complications, of which there were none, was the same. And the quality of life was pretty much the same. If anything, quality of life was slightly better with a bandage. And so this is called an isoplane, which what health economists use. And broadly, quality of life is better over here and cost is cheaper down here. So on the whole, the bandage group were better, so better in terms of quality of life and had a lower cost. What's not to love? So we produced information leaflets. So we produced information leaflets for buccal fractures based on the evidence from the trial, and we produced them in loads of different languages, so 8 different languages plus American, because Americans think they're different. And so you can use those in your ED now to explain what a torus fracture is, to explain the best quality evidence. You can upload your hospital logo really simply and put kind of contact details who they need to contact if there's a problem and all that sort of stuff. And I want you to use them. Please go and use them. We've got these for EDs, so for junior doctors and for everyone in ED really to make sure you can diagnose a torus fracture reliably. So you put these on the walls, use the patient information sheets, do nice audits, let me know the results, because it's really, really important for us as academics to see how the results of our studies changes practice. Because if we can prove that they change practice, then NIHR are more likely to keep funding what we do, which would be super helpful. So do audits and do send them back to us. I'd be really grateful. But look, it's the FORCE study and everyone liked it. And then following the FORCE study was another study about wrist fractures. So this was in the New England Journal of Medicine, a super duper journal. And this one came from Australia. And this one compared ultrasound to X-rays in the diagnosis of simple wrist fractures in children. And this was another big trial, and really it kind of, I'm not sure it completely pushed everyone to doing ultrasound in these simple fractures, but I think it did start to make people ask questions. So this paper basically said that ultrasound is as good as X-rays at diagnosing simple fractures of the wrist. And so is it POCUM you guys call it? POCUS? I'm not sure what it is, but this early ultrasound scanning, it kind of pushed people in a certain direction to encourage the use. So I thought that was interesting. But then, apart from those two really big studies, there's not a load of really hardcore evidence in children's orthopedics at the moment, but there is loads to come. And let me just briefly tell you about that. So one of the studies was called Science, so surgery or cast for injuries of the epicondyle in children's elbows. And that was about this bit of bone. So half of surgeons love fixing it. Half of surgeons think fixing it is like the enemy. And so there was no right or wrong answer. So after FORCE, when we got everyone to randomize, we said, okay, let's do a slightly more difficult trial and let's start randomizing this. So we set it up in all the ways the same way as FORCE. We had beautiful online animations. It was all very beautiful online consent. Even my children got involved with their hammer beads, making beautiful science logos. We included Australia and New Zealand because it was a big trial. Well, it was a difficult trial because they were much rarer than buccal fractures. And so let Nick Robinson from BBC Radio 4 tell you how amazing it was.
So the big news here at the British Orthopaedic Association, the big surgical news, is that science study done by orthopaedic surgeons, by people here in the UK, in New Zealand and Australia, has finally recruited its 334th and final patient for that critical randomized trial in, and I'm not the expert, but what I'm told is, a medial epicondyle fracture. That is the breaking news. Get it?
334 fractures recruited, randomized. Who said that children's orthopedic surgeons aren't academics? We can do this. And PZD, children's orthopedics working together, is astonishing. So that's all of that trial is now recruited. Our final follow-up so our 1-year follow-up of the final patient happens in September. So in about October, we'll start to get the results in, and it will be really, really cool. And we'll share those with you as soon as we're able to. And then we started getting really, really hard. And this, I'm sure many of you have heard about this study called CRAFT. So basically, there's a whole range of risk fractures that happen in little kids where there's lots of uncertainty. So this one happened, and I'm sure most of you look at this and recognize it's a fracture that's through the growth plate with a chunk of metaphysis taken off. So it's a Salter-Harris 2 fracture, the distal radius, and there's loads of uncertainty. In fact, this was on social media, and this on social media put this guy in a cast, and he waited. And he said, well, I'm going to leave this alone. And he got a barrage of abuse saying this will never spontaneously correct. It's too angulated. The damage to the cartilage is done. It's irrecoverable. We must abandon the concept that children's fractures always reshape. It's absolutely untrue. And then the next day, he posted the follow-up radiograph. And it was a few weeks later, and he was showing how it was beautiful remodeling to prove the naysayers wrong. And the evidence for this, well, I told you that orthopedic evidence was largely case series. The evidence from this actually came from a case series. So 51 kids with overriding, so completely off-ended fractures treated non-operatively in Hawaii. So nice place to be treated. So all healed, all had full range of motion, and all the parents were happy. And this guy from Hawaii, Crawford, showed pictures like this. So really nasty fractures, treated in a nice plaster. So a plaster to try and get rid of any angulation. So a big heavy back slab that kind of pushed down to get rid of any angulation. And then he just waited. And he waited, and over the course of a few months, it beautifully remodeled. So this is one that I did. This is one of my this is one of the children that I treated. So initially he had this nasty fracture. I did nothing, and at week 1 I was thinking, oh gosh, should I have done something or not? And then over the course of the next few weeks, it beautifully got better. And there he is, all happy. So you might say you're scared to offer non-operative care. Well, I'm going to say, well, it's your duty as a doctor to say that you've got reasonable alternatives. James Hunter, who's probably the most senior orthopedic surgeon in the UK at the moment, he's the Getting It Right First Time lead, so the GERF lead for children's orthopedics, has been offering non-operative care in his practice for years and years. And therefore, this is a reasonable alternative. and therefore you've got a duty to offer non-operative care to your patients. And if you don't, then the lawyers will tell you you're single-handedly removing that right from the family. And if there is a complication, then it's your call for not sharing the alternatives with the family. And there's lots of other things that say we've got a duty to share them with families. So my argument is do it within a trial. If you're going to do that, do it safely within a trial, and then you've got the whole governance structure within a trial. So James, is a trial the solution?
Oh, the perfect solution.
There you go. That's Mr. Hunter himself telling you. So these are some of the other ones in the CRAFT study. So really nasty Salter-Harris 2 fractures of the distal radius. Another off-ended one that beautifully remodeled. Well, he's beautifully remodeling at 9 months. More examples of just crazy. Look at that amazing remodeling. It's really, really cool. So we need 750. So far, recruited 723. We need 27. Last May, we got 23. So I'm kind of hoping we're going to get it done this month, which I'm super excited about. We're 96% of the way there, which has been a hard slog, and everyone said it was going to be impossible, and it's not. So that was kind of the tipping point. And from that, everything's exploded, and we got more and more trials in children's orthopedics. Many of them now are in elective care, but they're all detailed in our research guide. So if you want a copy of our research guide, reach out to me, email me, contact me on Twitter, and I'll send you a copy of our latest research guide or guides for your department. They've got loads of beautiful remodeling pictures which are really helpful to discuss with families. Other trials which are coming. So OddSOX is about Salter-Harris 2 fractures of the distal tibia. So asking the question whether we need to reduce them or whether we can accept them with some displacement in the same way that we've done CRAFT. So I think that's going to start on the 10th of May. So what's that, in 10 days? So how cool is that? We've also got trials in SUFI, so slipped epiphysis, which is a wee bit relevant to you guys. And it's all about whether we do a really big operation or a less big operation. And then PICC bone, although it's not about trauma, it's about infection. And so it's a really simple one for trainees to engage with. And if trainees or advanced nurse practitioners or emergency nurse practitioners want to engage with our trials, go to the totsresearch.org website. And on there, you'll be able to see how trainees can get involved. And with a CRAFT study and with PICC bone study, if you recruit a certain number of patients, I think it's 3 for CRAFT, and I think it's slightly more than that, but not too many more than that for PICC bone. You can be on the final papers, and the final papers will be in massive journals, which is really cool. So far we've got £35 million worth of research. It's really, really exciting. This is our website, which encompasses everything, incorporates everything, encompasses everything, which is totsresearch.org. You can go there, you can see all the different studies we've got, you can see how trainees can get involved, and we really, really, really want trainees and nurse practitioners to be involved in these because it's you guys that really drive them. And that's what it's all about. So back to what Richard Horton said. He said surgical research comic opera, questions but few answers. Well, in response to him, that first study we talked about, the fourth study, was actually published in Richard Horton's journal, The Lancet, which was a great proof that we, children's orthopedics and children's ED guys, can do it when we're working together. The whole world is now watching us. The Americans are trying to copy what we do. They're doing the CRAFT and the science study called Drift and Comet in the US, and they're very much watching what we do. So look, you're not doing it for me, you're doing it for your country. So do reach out if I can help you in any which way. Let me know. That's me. And yeah, thanks for having me. Cheers.